The film opens with Henry sitting alone in a toll booth, working through another lonely night shift. By sunrise, he drives back home. His wife, Debbie, welcomes him with breakfast, talks about starting a family, then quietly asks if he still loves her.
Do you still love me?
Henry barely has time to respond before the doorbell rings. When Henry opens it, his friend Eddie stands there along with Joe, who's in bad shape and vomiting. Debbie, ever the caring nurse, brings Joe inside to help him settle. Meanwhile, Eddie lies about a basketball game they supposedly have that day. Since Joe is in no condition to play, Eddie nudges Henry to take his place. Being the soft-hearted pushover he is, Henry agrees. While driving, Henry asks Eddie where the game is. Eddie replies it's not far, but guides him to pull up in front of a bank instead. He insists they're just grabbing food and tells Henry to keep the engine running. The moment they walk away, Eddie and his masked idiots pull out guns and storm the bank. Looking back, the warning signs were all there. The hot-wired car, the suspicious detour, but Henry notices none of it. He just sits there. A security guard spots Henry wearing the same jersey as one of the masked thieves and immediately assumes he's part of the crew. The police interrogate Henry relentlessly, pressing him to name the others. But Henry, protecting the friend who ruined his life, stays silent. Because of this, Henry takes the fall and is sentenced to 3 years in prison. He's thrown into a cell with Max, a seasoned con man who spent most of his life behind bars for swindling people. Over breakfast, Max tells Henry that every man in prison once had a dream, something they wanted, until life twisted the wrong way and landed them behind bars. Then he asks Henry, "What's your dream?" Henry quietly admits he doesn't have one. Disappointed, Max tells him, drifting through life without a dream is its own kind of crime. 6 months later, Debbie comes to visit. She sits across from Henry, looking nervous, like she's been practicing what to say. Then, she finally admits she has fallen in love with someone else. Henry's expression changes for a moment, but he quickly hides it. Debbie waits for him to get angry or fall apart, but he doesn't. Instead, Henry tells her it's okay. Now, Debbie doesn't know whether to feel relieved or guilty. Meanwhile, Max has settled into prison like it's home. One afternoon, the other inmates ask him about his last parole hearing. Max explains how they asked him, "If we let you out, what would you do?" Max repeats his answer word for word. He'd walk into their house, burn the place down, and cut the tongue out of anything alive in there. The cell falls silent, because you can tell Max means every word. Then the question turns to Henry. He replies he'll be released next month, but he insists he's innocent, and he never committed the crime. Honestly, he's not wrong. But when you refuse to expose the friend who set you up, what do you call that? Loyalty? Self-sabotage? Either way, Henry helped write his own downfall. Then Max reminds him, once you've served time, no one on the outside will believe your story anyway. Months later, Henry walks out of prison, carrying only the weight of 3 stolen years. He heads to his old apartment, only to find Joe standing there as if he owns the place. And to make things worse, he sees Debbie pregnant with Joe's child. The world kept moving while Henry was frozen in time. Debbie shows Henry all of his belongings and asks what he plans to do now. Henry doesn't say a word. Then Joe starts pitching a fresh start, a business proposal. And what is this grand opportunity? Selling cheap, no-name Korean kitchen gadgets, the kind of junk you'd ignore at a street market. Henry stares at him like, "I went to prison for you, and this is what you bring me?" If this were a John Wick universe, Joe wouldn't make it out of this conversation alive.
Consequences.
Before Henry leaves, Joe thanks him for not mentioning his name.
I just wanted to say thank you,
But Henry mutters he doesn't know it. Later that day, Henry stands in front of the bank where it all began. Suddenly, he gets hit by a car. Julie, the driver, rushes over, yelling and asking if he's okay. The same guard from before tells Julie to call an ambulance, but Henry refuses. The guard supports him and leads him to a nearby cafe. Julie follows behind. At the cafe, Henry tells her she looks familiar, but Julie tells him to focus more on the road before leaving. In the cafe bathroom, Henry notices an old newspaper on the wall, an article about a failed bank robbery through a tunnel. His eyes widen as he spots a tunnel connecting the bank and the theater across the street. He hurries back to prison to see Max, declaring he's found his dream, to finally rob the bank that ruined his life.
You came to jail to ask me to help you rob a bank?
Max couldn't believe this was coming from Henry, but the plan made sense, and he agreed without hesitation. Later on, Henry wanders to the theater, where he spots Julie rehearsing. During the performance, her director scolds her harshly and tells her she can't handle the role. Frustrated, Julie walks out, While leaving, she asks if Henry was following her. Henry denies it, but still follows her to the coffee shop. While drinking coffee, Henry compliments her performance. Julie then thanks him for not suing her over the car accident. Meanwhile, Max finally earns parole by pretending to be a good citizen for once. When Henry picks him up, Max asks where his car is. Henry replies he doesn't have one. He walked there. This makes Max so frustrated that he begs to return to jail. Max is even more disappointed when Henry insists on a plan that uses no guns.
No guns.
Wanting to avoid hurting anyone. Max sarcastically says it's sweet, but warns that after the last robbery, the bank might have moved the safe. To find out, they visit the bank. Max talks to the assistant manager and cleverly confirms that the safe has never been moved since the bank was built, while the same guard, who apparently never takes a day off, keeps watching Henry like a hawk. Later, they check the tunnel at the theater. Julie is surprised to see Henry. To make things less suspicious, Max quickly improvises. He lies about performing many plays there and is showing Henry around. Then he adds he had many memories there, so he wants to see every corner of the theater. With this excuse, he gets permission. As soon as Max leaves, Julie and Henry begin having a conversation. She asks Henry what he did. Henry simply says he had just been released from prison and wasn't doing anything at the moment. Julie is shocked. She asks why he was in jail.
What, are you a murderer or something?
No, do I look like one?
No.
What do I look like?
After this, they agree to meet for dinner that evening. Back home, Max informs Henry that the tunnel passes through a green room, meaning they'll need to take control of it. But Henry is more focused on his date. Seeing this, Max tells him to enjoy his date and they'll plan later. During the dinner, Julie reveals her dream of becoming a famous actress. Henry confides about prison and his plan to rob the bank. Julie is shocked but intrigued, growing closer to him as the night progresses. By the next morning, their bond has strengthened. Next, Henry drags Julie back to Max's place. Max gives Julie that evil stare, but Henry tries calming him down, muttering that she'll be part of the operation now. Max pulls Henry aside and basically tells him that telling her the plan was one of Henry's top 10 stupid decisions. During breakfast, Julie asks why Max went to prison. Max replies he's a con man, and even if their plan collapses, it doesn't matter. Jail's comfortable enough for him. After eating, Max gets her to give him a ride to the theater. Later, Max tells Henry he has a brilliant idea. Henry should audition for the play because Max needs someone inside the theater so he can access the tunnel without raising suspicion. Conveniently, the actor for the role gets kicked out. After the audition, Henry somehow lands the role, and more importantly, he gets access to the tunnel room. But the deeper they get, the more obvious it becomes. This job isn't a two-man mission. So Henry does the unthinkable. He goes to Joe. Yep, Joe. Henry explains the plan. Joe doesn't even think twice. He accepts immediately. Of course he does. Anything is better than selling knockoff Korean kitchen gadgets. But the second Joe sees the tunnel work, he starts suggesting chaos. He basically tells them they should just grab guns and raid the bank. Max loses it. He shuts Joe down hard, reminding him that they're not trying to rob the bank like amateurs. Work starts slowly, with Joe making it slower. Meanwhile, Henry starts actually taking his acting role seriously. Suddenly, the man wants to improve his life, not just his wallet. One night, as Henry, Joe, and Max walk home, the guard who originally busted Henry shows up, and not casually. He looks like he's been tracking them for days.
I know what you're up to, gentlemen.
Henry takes him to a quiet place, expecting a disaster. But instead, the guard flips the script. He says he wants in. Turns out his salary is trash. The guard reveals that once a month, a truck deposits millions from smaller banks into that vault, and that's the best time for the robbery. Back at the theater, rehearsals are a battlefield. Julie keeps trying her best, but the director treats her like she personally ruined his career. Eventually, she breaks, runs to the bathroom, and starts crying. Henry follows her, comforts her, and tells her she's better than the director deserves. The moment softens, and they end up kissing. That night, Henry and Max are deep in planning when someone bangs on the door like they're there to collect debts. Henry opens it, and there stand Eddie and Joe. Joe, of course, has snitched. He told Eddie everything, and now Eddie has declared himself a member of the team. This should have been Henry's moment to get payback, to punch Eddie in the face for everything he caused. But for whatever reason, he doesn't. Max takes one look at Eddie and immediately hates him. Eddie walks in acting like he owns the crew, bossing everyone around, even calling Max an old man.
Just relax, old man.
Max nearly punches him in the face, but Henry steps in at the last second to stop the fight. The next day, Max and Henry head back to the theater, and that's when they notice something important. Opening night is set for the exact same time the money truck arrives at the bank. Henry freezes for a second, and he admits he's not sure he can actually go through with it because after the robbery, he'll have to leave Julie. Max immediately gets annoyed. The man spent years in prison and somehow stayed calm the whole time. But this pushes him over the edge. He reminds Henry that he literally broke him out of jail for this plan. And now Henry wants to chicken out? That night, Henry goes to tell Julie what's going on. They're robbing the bank on opening night, and he'll have to disappear afterward. Julie feels hurt. She breaks down and starts talking nonstop.
You knew that you had to leave, right?
Asking why he made her fall for him, if she was only part of the plan to get into the theater. From her viewpoint, he used her. Then the big day comes, for both the theater and the robbery. As expected, the money transport arrives at the bank on time, and the guard informs them. Henry continues acting in the play, but as soon as he gets the chance, he slips out for the heist. At first, everything is going smoothly, but then there's Eddie, the one guy guaranteed to mess something up. He suddenly wants all the money. So he pulls out a gun, even though they all agreed there would be no guns, and points it at Max, threatening him. He then orders Joe to load all the money into the car. Joe clearly hates how Eddie is acting and tries to calm him down. Henry walks in just then. Eddie turns the gun on him too and even hits Max with it, knocking him down. Joe keeps telling him to stop, but Eddie isn't listening. With nothing else left to try, Joe bites Eddie. That tiny moment is enough for Max to get back up and take Eddie down. In the chaos, Henry gets shot. Meanwhile, his scene at the theater is about to start. Limping and bleeding, he drags himself back to the stage and performs like nothing happened. Man, can't this show wait for him to treat himself first? After tying up Eddie, Max and Joe grab the money and head out. Henry joins them, still hurt. Then suddenly, Henry tells them to stop the car. They look confused, but he tells them to drive off without him and says he'll meet them later.
Just forget about it. Let's get the hell out of here. Drive.
Henry heads back to the theater, limping all the way. He gets on stage and confesses his undying love to Julie. Man, come on. You're about to die if you don't get the bullet out. Coincidentally, the scene in the play matches what he's saying, so the audience thinks it's all part of the show. They sit there watching, waiting for Julie's reaction. The director lowers the lights and tells her to answer. After a long pause, Julie realizes Henry actually means it. She doesn't say anything, but lets her expression tell the whole story. At the end, he gets both the bag and the girl.